Al-Jinn is the name of this surah as well as the title of its subject matter, for in it the event of the jinns hearing the Qur'an and returning to their people to preach Islam to them has been related in detail. Period of revelation, according to a tradition related in Bukhari and Muslim, on the authority of Hadrat Abdullah bin Abbas, once the Holy Prophet, upon whom be peace, was going to visit the fair of Ukaz with some of his companions. On the way be led the Fajr prayer at Nakhla. At that time, a company of the jinn happened to pass that way. When they heard the Quran being recited, they tarried and listened to it attentively. This very event has been described in this surah. Most of the commentators, on the basis of this tradition, believe that this relates to the Holy Prophet's well-known journey to Taif, which had taken place 3 years before the Hijrah in the 10th year of the prophethood. But this is not correct for several reasons. The jinns hearing the Quran during the journey to Taif has been related in Al-Aqaf 29-32. A cursory reading of those verses shows that the jinn who had believed after hearing the Quran on that occasion were already believers in the Prophet Moses and the previous scriptures. On the contrary, V 2-7 of this surah clearly show that the jinn who heard the Quran on this occasion were polytheists and deniers of the hereafter and prophethood. Then it is confirmed historically that in his journey to Taif, none accompanied the Holy Prophet except Hadrat Zayd bin Haritha. On the contrary, concerning this journey, Ibn Abbas says that the Holy Prophet, upon whom be peace, was accompanied by some of his companions. Furthermore, the traditions also agree that in that journey, the jinn heard the Quran when the Holy Prophet had stopped at Nakhla on his return journey from Taif to Makkah. And in this journey, according to the traditions of Ibn Abbas, the event of the jinns hearing the Quran occurred when the Holy Prophet was going to Ukaz from Makkah. Therefore, in view of these reasons, what seems to be correct is that in Surah Al-Ahqaf and Surah Al-Jinn, one and the same event has not been narrated, but these were 2 separate events which took place during 2 separate journeys. As far as Surah Al-Ahqaf is concerned, it is agreed that the event mentioned in it occurred on the return journey from Taif in the 10th year of prophethood. As for the question, when this second event took place, its answer is not given by the tradition of Ibn Abbas, nor any other historical tradition shows as to when the Holy Prophet had gone to the fair of Ukaz along with some of his companions. However, a little consideration of VV 8-10 of this surah shows that this could only be an event of the earliest stage of prophethood. In these verses it has been stated that before the appointment of the Holy Prophet, upon whom be peace, to divine mission, the jinn used to have one or another opportunity to eavesdrop in the heavens in order to hear news of the unseen, but after it they suddenly found that angels had been set as guards and meteorites were being shot on every side so that they could find no place of safety from where they could hear the secret news. Thereupon they had set about searching for the unusual thing that had occurred on the earth, or was going to occur, because of which the security measures had been tightened up. Probably since then many companies of the jinn must have been moving about in search of the unusual occurrence, and one of them, after having heard the Quran from the Holy Prophet, upon whom be peace, must have formed the opinion that that was the very thing for the sake of which all the gates of the heavens had been shut against the jinn. Reality of jinn. Before one starts the study of this surah, one must clearly know what is the reality of the jinn so as to avoid any possible mental confusion. Many people of the modern times are involved in the misunderstanding that the jinn are not real, but only a figment of the ancient superstition and myths. They have not formed this opinion on the basis that they have known all the realities and truths about the universe and have thus discovered that the jinn do not exist. They cannot claim to possess any such knowledge either. But they have assumed without reason and proof that nothing exists in the universe except what they can see, whereas the sphere of human perceptions as against the vastness of this great universe is not even comparable to a drop of water as against the ocean. Here, the person who thinks that what he does not perceive does not exist, and what exists must necessarily be perceived, in fact, provides a proof of the narrowness of his own mind. With this mode of thought, not to speak of the jinn, man cannot even accept and acknowledge any reality which he cannot directly experience and observe, and he cannot even admit the existence of God, to say nothing of admitting any other unseen reality. Those of the Muslims who have been influenced by modernism, but cannot deny the Quran either, have given strange interpretations of the clear statements of the Quran about the jinn, Iblis, and Satan. They say that this does not refer to any hidden creation, which may have its own independent existence, but it sometimes implies man's own animal forces, which have been called Satan. And sometimes it implies savage and wild mountain tribes, and sometimes the people who used to listen to the Quran secretly. But the statements of the Quran in this regard are so clear and explicit that these interpretations bear no relevance to them whatever. The Quran frequently mentions the jinn and the men in a manner as to indicate that they are two separate creations. For this, see Al-Araf 38, Hud 119, Ha-Mim As-Sajda 25-29, Ahqaf 18, Ad-Dariyat 56, and the entire Surah Ar-Rahman, which bears such clear evidence as to leave no room to regard the jinn as a human species. In Surah Al-Araf 12, Al-Hijr 26-27, and Ar-Rahman 14-19, it has been expressly stated that man was created out of clay and jinn out of fire. In Surah Al-Hijr 27, it has been said that the jinn had been created before man. The same thing is testified by the story of Adam and Iblis, which has been told at 7 different places in the Quran, and at every place it confirms that Iblis was already there at the creation of man. Moreover, in Surah Al-Kahf 50, it has been stated that Iblis belonged to the jinn. In Surah Al-Araf 27, it has been stated in clear words that the jinn see the human beings, but the human beings do not see them. In Surah Al-Hijr 16-18, Surah As-Safat 6-10, and Surah Al-Mulk 5. It has been said that although the jinn can ascend to the heavens, they cannot exceed a certain limit. If they try to ascend beyond that limit and try to hear what goes on in the heavens, they are not allowed to do so. And if they try to eavesdrop, they are driven away by meteorites. By this, the belief of the polytheistic Arabs that the jinn possess the knowledge of the unseen or have access to divine secrets has been refuted. The same error has also been refuted in Saba 14, Al-Baqarah 30-34, and Al-Kahf 50 show that Allah has entrusted man with the vicegerency of the earth, and the men are superior to the jinn, although the jinn also have been given certain extraordinary powers and abilities, an example of which is found in An-Naml 39. Yet the animals likewise have been given some powers greater than man. But these are no argument that the animals are superior to man. The Quran also explains that the jinn, like men, are a creation possessed of power and authority, and they, just like them, can choose between obedience and disobedience, faith and disbelief. This is confirmed by the story of Satan and the event of the jinn affirming the faith as found in Surahs Al-Ahqaf and Al-Jinn. At scores of places in the Quran, it has also been stated that Iblis, at the very creation of Adam, had resolved to misguide mankind, and since then the satanic jinn have been persistently trying to mislead man, but they do not have the power to overwhelm him and make him do something forcibly. However, they inspire him with evil suggestions, beguile him, and make evil seem good to him. For this see An-Nisa 117-120, Al-Araf 11-17, Ibrahim 22, Al-Hijr 30 to 42, An-Nahl 98 to 100, Bani Israel 61 to 65. The Quran also tells us that in the pre-Islamic ignorance, the polytheistic Arabs regarded the jinn as associates of God, worshipped them, and thought they were descended from God. For this, see Al-An'am 100, Saba 40 to 41, As-Safat 158. From these details, it becomes abundantly clear that the jinn have their own objective existence and are a concealed creation of an entirely different species from man. Because of their mysterious qualities, ignorant people have formed exaggerated notions and concepts about them and their powers, and have even worshipped them. But the Quran has explained the whole truth about them, which shows what they are and what they are not. Theme and topics. In this surah, in verses 1 to 15, it has been told what was the impact of the Quran on the company of the jinn when they heard it, and what they said to their fellow jinn when they returned to them. Allah, in this connection, has not cited their whole conversation, but only those particular things which were worthy of mention. That is why the style is not that of a continuous speech, but sentences have been cited so as to indicate that they said this and this. If one studies these sentences spoken by the jinn carefully, one can easily understand the real object of the narration of this event, of their affirming the faith and or mentioning this conversation of theirs with their people in the Quran. The explanations that we have given of their statements in our notes will be of further help in understanding this object. After this, in verses 16 to 18, the people have been admonished to the effect, if you refrain from polytheism and follow the way of righteousness firmly, you will be blessed. Otherwise, if you turn away from the admonition sent down by Allah, you will meet with a severe punishment. Then, in verses 19 to 23, the disbelievers of Makkah have been reproached, as if to say, when the messenger of Allah calls you towards Allah, you surround and mob him from every side, whereas the only duty of the messenger is to convey the messages of Allah. He does not claim to have any power to bring any gain or cause any harm to the people. Then, in verses 24 to 25, the disbelievers have been warned to the effect, today you are trying to overpower and suppress the messenger, seeing that he is helpless and friendless. But a time will come when you will know who, in actual fact, is helpless and friendless. Whether that time is yet far off or near at hand, the messenger has no knowledge thereof, but it will come to pass in any case. In conclusion, the people have been told, the knower of the unseen is Allah alone. The messenger receives only that knowledge which Allah is pleased to give him. This knowledge pertains to matters connected with the performance of the duties of prophethood, and it is delivered to him in such security which does not admit of any external interference whatever.